Dear students, welcome to the MOOCs program. Today we are going to discuss the topic chemical and its impact on environment. The first question that should come in your mind that what are the learning objectives? Learning objectives are to study the impact of chemical on living organism. Second, to study in detail the national and international framework to deal with these environmental problems. And third is to study the role played by judiciary to achieve the guarantees provided in the Constitution. To reach these objectives, today we are going to discuss effect of chemical over living organism. We are going to discuss the international framework, and under this we will discuss the Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste and their Disposal, the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer 1987, the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutant 2001, Rotterdam Convention 1998. Then we are going to discuss globally harmonized system and the strategic approach to international chemical management. After discussing international framework, we will in short discuss the national framework, and we will discuss about the decision of the Supreme Court that helped to attain and achieve their constitutional guarantees. The first convention under the international framework is Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste and their Disposal. Before discussing in detail the provision, first of all we will discuss that what was the need to enter into this convention. Awakening environmental awareness and corresponding tightening of environmental regulation in the industrialized world in 1970s and 1980s had led to increasing public resistance to the disposal of hazardous waste. And this is responsible for the syndrome NIMBY, that is not in my backyard syndrome, and to an escalation of disposal cost This in turn led some operator to seek cheap disposal option for hazardous waste in Eastern Europe and the developing world, where environmental awareness was much less developed and regulation and enforcement mechanism were lacking. In the 1980, after the discovery of toxic deposits that were imported from abroad, a lot of public outcry in Africa and other part of the developing world compelled the government across the world to combat the toxic trade. The first aim of this convention is addressed through a number of general provisions requiring states to observe the fundamental principle of environmentally sound waste management. A number of prohibitions are designed to ensure that hazardous waste may not be exported to Antarctica, to a state not party to the Basel Convention, or to a party having banned the import of hazardous waste. Parties may, however, enter into bilateral or multilateral agreement on hazardous waste management and other parties or with the known parties, provided that such agreements are no less environmentally sound than the Basel Convention. The Basel Convention also provides for cooperation between parties, ranging from exchange of information on issues relevant to the implementation of the convention to technical assistance, particularly to developing countries. It is apposite here to discuss that in all cases where transboundary movement is not in principle prohibited, it may take place only and only if it represents an environmentally sound solution, if the principle of environmentally sound management and non-discrimination are observed. The convention also provides for the establishment of regional or sub-regional center for training and technology transfer regarding the management of hazardous waste and other waste and the minimization of their generation to cater to the specific need of different region and sub-region. 14 such centers have been established. They carry out training and capacity building activities in the region. Next, we are going to discuss the Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer 1987. This protocol was designed to reduce the production and consumption of ozone depleting substances. Montreal Protocol include a unique adjustment provision that enable the parties to the protocol to respond quickly to new scientific information and agree to accelerate the reduction required on chemical already covered by the protocol. These adjustments are then automatically applicable to all countries that ratified the protocol. Since its initial adoption, the Montreal Protocol has been adjusted 6 times according to the protocol procedure laid down in the paragraph 9 of Article 2 of the Montreal Protocol. This protocol was agreed on 16 September 1987 and entered into force on 1st January 1989. The parties to the protocol meet annually and take a variety of decisions aimed at enabling effective implementation of this important legal instrument. Through the 22nd meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol, the parties have taken over 720 decisions. In third extraordinary meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol, Vienna, that held on 22 and 22nd. In the third extraordinary meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol that was held in Vienna from 22nd to 23rd July 2016, it was decided to request that the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel prepare a report for consideration by the 28th meeting of the parties containing an assessment of the climate benefit and the financial implication for the multilateral fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol of the schedule for phasing down the use of HFCs contained in the amendment proposal discussed by the parties at the 38th meeting of the open-ended working group and the third extraordinary meeting of the parties. Next is the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollution. This convention is a global treaty to protect human health and the environment from persistent organic pollutant. Now the point is, what is this POPs? POPs are the chemical that remain intact in the environment for long period, become widely distributed geographically, accumulate in the fatty tissue of living organism and are toxic to human and wildlife. POPs circulate globally and can cause damage wherever they travel. In implementing the convention, government will take measure to eliminate or reduce the release of POPs into environment. The Stockholm Convention focuses on eliminating or reducing releases of dirty dozens. It sets up a system for tackling additional chemical identified as unacceptably hazardous. It recognizes that a special effort may sometime be needed to phase out certain chemical for certain uses and seek to ensure that this effort is made. It also channels resources into cleaning up the existing stockpiles and dump of POPs that litter the world landscape. What are the aims and objectives? As we have already discussed, the aim is to eliminate dangerous POPs starting with the 12 worst, to support the transition to safer alternative, to target additional POPs for action, to clean up old stockpiles and equipment containing POPs, and to work together for a POPs-free future. Parties of the convention are required to take measures to eliminate or heavily restrict the production and the use of POP, pesticide and PCBs, and to minimize the unintentional production and release of POPs. Both the Stockholm Convention and CLR-TAP protocol on POPs make allowances for further chemical to be qualified as POPs. This allowances is described in Article 8 and Annex D of the Stockholm Convention and require party to submit proposal of new POPs according to a set of strict screening criteria.